Hey everybody, I'm Stacy with New Creations by Stacy. I'm a Dixie Belle retailer here in Madison, Alabama at Blue Vintage Market. So if you guys are local, definitely come in and see us. Otherwise, I do have a link listed if you wanted to find your local retailer, as well as if you want to order products online. The affiliate link is there as well. And then also, bear with me for just a minute. I think I may not be live. If anyone can see this, it's not popping up for me on the Dixie Belle page here. Give me just a second. I had a software update, so I've got some odd things going on with my phone. If you guys can just send a comment out. Okay, so I see some people jumping on, so I must be listed here. I'm actually trying to pull it up so I can see comments, but it is not showing up for me. So I'll try this again in a minute, but right now I cannot see any comments. So hopefully you guys are there. If I can see them the whole live, I'll go back at the end and answer any questions that you might have. Dixie Belle should be live with us as well, so they can answer questions as we go too. Normally I pull this up on another device here, but I'm on the Dixie Belle Paint Company page, but here we go. All right, perfect. So I can see comments now. Perfect. Hey, Min. Let's see. All right. Hey, Diana from Rockford, Texas. Hey, Dixie Belle. Okay, so perfect. I should be all set now. Hopefully everyone is staying warm and has power now. Oh, I can't imagine the poor people in Texas at this point. So anyway, sorry about that. I also, in the description, I've got the products we're going to be using tonight, as well as my Facebook link so that you can see the finished product. And I did start these live last week as well, so I did paint the first and second coats last week. This is actually a blend of Aubergine, Driftwood, and a little bit of Fluff as well on them. I've got this one at a different stage over here. So we're actually going to start with this. We're going to put some Best Dang wax on it to fill in some of the finishing touches. And then we're going to also, so if you were watching last week, we voted and I was supposed to go silver and black, and I 100% intended to. But I forgot what I was doing with the sides, and I was putting some flowers on there, and I actually have gold centers in the flowers. So I kind of have to go with the gold for the detail work. So we are going to be using some gilding wax as well. So I did start off, of course, by cleaning them with white lightning. I didn't need Boss or Slick Stick or anything like that. Oh, hey, Stacy, thank you. Hey. Oh, are you in Texas, Diana, or where are you at? I just can't, I'm not good with cold. And we actually had snow here in Alabama, which we never normally see where I'm at. But we had, I don't know, a couple inches or something like that at my house. But everything shuts down if we get that here. It's not like up north. So anyway, though, so we're going to start off with doing the black wax. And like I said, I did clean it with white lightning, no Slick Stick, no Boss or anything like that. Just able to go straight on with the paint. And I did also, once the paint is on, I did go ahead and protect it with Satin Clear Coat, because that's going to protect my paint finish. I'm trying to get you guys with the best view, but that's going to protect my paint finish so that whatever I do to it, I'm able to just go in and wipe it back if you know, I make a mistake or something like that. So right now, like I said, I'm just trying to get you so where you can see up close, because I am going to do some, you know, it's very subtle with the black wax. I'm not going all over. I'm just going to highlight all of the details in here. And hopefully, let me scoot over a little bit. Oh, wow. No electricity from Monday morning to last night. Oh, my gosh. I am so sorry, but I'm so glad to hear you. Are you back with power full time, or are you just still like a rolling blackout? Hopefully, Oh, I like Deb's question. Can I paint the center of the flower silver? Actually, I probably could have, but I kind of went a little bit too far now. But you know what? I don't know why I really didn't think about that. That would have been smart. Originally, I was going with gold, but then right before the live, I got the bright idea to go with silver. And so then I took a vote. And I'm so sorry because I usually always try to go with what you guys decide. White Lightening is a TSP-based cleaner. You want to use it to prep all your furniture. And let me show you what it looks like here. I've got some sitting right here. I didn't have it out. But this goes forever. So you can see what it looks like. I've had this since March, and I clean tons of furniture. So it's kind of like a little granulated powder. And it's 2 tablespoons per gallon of water. And I always mix mine in a Windex bottle, and then I can just spray it on, scrub it down really nicely, and then rinse it off with water. Any of the residue left on here can cause some issues with the paint sticking, but it's going to get like grease, grime. It doesn't function like a full deglosser. Like if you went and purchased, you know, like a chemical deglosser, that... I don't like that stuff. But anyway, but this deglosses to a point as well, which helps the paint stick in the long run. So really important. And you know, it's only like $5.50 for this. And if you buy it pre-mixed, you pay more than that for just a Windex bottle size piece. So White Lightening is definitely a must-have. So then, like I said, I did put a clear coat of satin on here. And I want that to protect, the paint is very porous, and I want it to protect the paint from whatever decorative work I'm doing. Now with silk, this is the chalk mineral paint. Now let's say I had used silk, that has a built-in protectant, and it has a very silky, not as much of a matte finish. So you don't necessarily, well, you don't have to protect, but if I would put the wax directly onto the chalk paint without any coat of protection in between, the wax would sink right into my chalk paint, and then I wouldn't be able to move it around, or I wouldn't have control of it to give it the look that I really wanted. It would just, it can come out looking like a blotchy mess. So that's why you want to put the coat of protectant on. But with the slick stick, the wax just slides right over it, much smoother because of that built-in protectant. So chalk mineral paint, though, I would definitely recommend that clear coat in between your decorative wax. I also do clear coat after because, of course, I'm selling my furniture, so I want it to be really well protected. Wax is a protectant in and of itself, but it's not super durable, and it's something that has to be kept up with and reapplied, usually like every 6 months. It varies, but you know, that's about it. And on a high traffic piece, you want it protected well. Oh, good. I was just reading Diana's comment. It looks like they got water during the day starting yesterday. Oh my goodness, bless you. I cannot, like I said, I can't imagine. We had tornadoes a few years back. We were without power for 10 days, but at least we had nice weather. So it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't as bad as something like this. And everybody's pipes bursting. And I'm sorry, I know I'm so off track, but it's just, so much is happening. All right, so hopefully you guys can see pretty well. What I'm going to start with is the Best Dang Wax in black. And you can kind of see what that looks like. The wax goes far. I'm doing detail work, so I'm going to use a small artist brush because I don't want to wax my entire piece. I want to put, I want to give it dimension, an extra layer of dimension, because I've got a lot of shading going on with the blend, but I want to give it that extra dimension and really make it pop here. So when I pick my artist brush for wax, I do like to use a natural bristle brush. The bristles themselves are a little bit more firm, and it just makes it easier to apply the wax. If I went with like a synthetic art brush, this was just the first thing I grabbed, but see, the bristles are, they flow a lot easier. They're not nearly as firm. So you just can't get the wax on there as well as you can with a natural bristle brush. So I've lost the comments again here. Let me see if I can just pull them up. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I just saw somebody ask a question. Silk comes in clear. Silk's the new paint line. So there's 20 colors, 20 I think, 20 or 22. I have a bunch of them over here, but they are all in colors. They have a built-in primer and a built-in protectant. The built-in primer is more like the built-in primer, though, is more like a Boss primer. So you can see I just put a little bit of wax on my brush. And hopefully I can scoot over here. Not a whole lot. I'm just going to line this out. I'm going to keep it kind of thin. I'm just starting on the drawer here. And I am softening it up a little bit whenever I'm running my brush back and forth, but for the most part, I'm just trying to get it into the details. This would be similar to, this isn't quite pinstriping because my brush is a little bit bigger, but it's kind of similar, how I'm putting it on is similar to that. And I can tell that I missed, whenever I was protecting with my satin, I missed a little strip right along here. So I'm going to try to be really careful not to get any black wax there. But if I do, I also, anytime I'm using like a dark wax or anything like that, I do keep the clear wax with me because it does act as an eraser. So I always have that near me. Let's see. Wow, 1895 was when that record was set. My goodness. Yeah, this has definitely been, well, really 2020 and 2021 the way it's starting out. All right, so I'm just going here. I'm trying to line out just all of my crevices so I can really get that dark in the detail here. And it looks a little crazy, but I'm giving it, the reason I'm not going back and wiping it right off, I want to give it a little bit of time to set up, which normally you probably want to give it about 10 to 15 minutes before you start wiping back, but I will probably end up wiping back prior to that. But that's a good amount of time to give it time to set up before you do that. If I wipe back right away, for the most part, I'm going to wipe most of it off. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go up here. So this, and I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, the aubergine is pretty dark, but when I put this black wax on here, it gives it so much dimension here in person. It gives it a whole different look. But in each case, you see my natural bristle brush, it has a point on it. I'm really just trying to get the wax on that point and then run it around all these sections and in these low areas. So I'm going to put a little bit more just on this indented crease up here. And I don't want to forget my, this is a would you bend that I added, just the little key lock. I'm just going to fill in here. I'm going to dab it a little bit because I really want the wax to get in these grooves nicely. Because when you have trim or something like that on here, you definitely, this will give it a lot more dimension, make it look a lot more realistic if you get that dark down into all those little grooves. A glaze works really well to do this as well. The wax to me looks a little bit softer, so that's why I chose it for this particular project. Most of the time when I use our glazes, I mix paint with them, so I have a bold contrasting look. If you use like the black glaze as is, it will give you a relatively soft look, but it's a lot messier than the wax. So now that I've got this on, we're just going to pretty much pretend that it's been set up for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm just going to be a little bit more careful when I wipe it back. But I'm going to go into these corners and I'm going to kind of just soften it up. I'm going to let some of this shading come out. And you can see, well, I can see this is a spot I just didn't protect well with my satin in that spot. So I'm actually going to, perfect example, I'm going to put a little bit of the clear on my rag. It's kind of hard to see it on the camera, but I'm just going to rub that clear right across that spot so I can pull it back a little bit. It works better if it's on that portion that's been protected with the Satin Clear Coat, but I missed that, and that happens sometimes. But like I said, I will go back and protect with the Satin Clear Coat afterwards. All I'm doing is just rubbing all of this black wax. For the most part, I'm trying to soften it up, but I'm not sticking my finger too much into the crack or the crevice there because I really want it to be nice and dark in that area. And now I will want to let my wax dry pretty much for about 24 hours, at minimum overnight. You want the wax to be nice and dry before you put the another coat of clear coat over it. You can also use gator hide over it, either one. Like I said, I'm just softening up all these areas here and rubbing this wax back. So this detail work is really what sets your project apart. Especially in person. I think sometimes a lot of it is lost on camera sometimes, just because you can't see those slight variations in the color, but definitely makes a huge difference here in person. So I just want to make sure I've got it rubbed back as much as I want to. Want to rub this back a little bit more. So I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive on here because I pretty much want to take all of the black wax off the raised parts of the molding. I only want it to sit down in those cracks and crevices. Just making sure that I've got all the spots I want to get rubbed back off here. And then that's it. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep going with the doors. We've got quite a bit of time left. And if you guys have any questions, just definitely ask here. So I'm not seeing anything else here. So I do see a question by Cheryl. She said, if you use silk, do the wax and patinas move easily and wipe off, or do you need to stay? Silk has the built-in sealer, and it has a silkier finish, is the best way to describe it. So the wax moves a lot easier on the silk than it does on if it's directly on the chalk mineral paint. And that's why I put that Satin Clear Coat in between. It definitely makes a difference. So I'm just lining out the top of the door here. And you'll see that it's getting in places that I don't really want it. So for this, I'm not going to wait for this to set up. I'm going to just go back in and rub that right off. When I immediately rub it off and I don't give it time to set up, it doesn't even leave a mark. So I've only rubbed it off the top part. It's still in the crevice, and I'll still come back and soften that up a little bit as well. So I'm just going to come down here, line out this door. I'm just putting this anywhere there are details that I can add a little more highlighting to. And I may go ahead, after I finish this door, I may actually switch to doing the gilding wax. It does take a little bit of time for this process, but it's well worth it. So I'm just kind of scrubbing it in. And I'm not being really careful about how I'm putting it on because, like I said, I can remove it back from any area that I want to. So I'm just going to run it over the top portions. I'm not actually rubbing. I'm just getting off where I don't want it first. And then I'll go back in and soften those up. It's not set up well enough for me to even start that. Let me just get this top portion. So I'm going to go ahead and do this other door while we're letting that set up a little bit. And then we'll come over and work with the gilding wax on the other piece. Have you guys used the gilding wax yet or any of the chameleon waxes? You know, I really, I was trying not to go as bold. Sometimes I can get really bold on my pieces. So I was trying not to go as bold with this piece. But I really think that the lilac chameleon wax would have looked gorgeous on here. With that aubergine, it looks really nice with the dark colors. It really highlights those with the chameleon waxes. So I'll just get this in here. Just gonna line these out. All right, so we've got that around the door, so I'm just gonna go back, and again, I'm just gonna wipe off where I overlapped it onto the top of the door because I don't want any of the black wax there, just in the crevices. And let's see. This is actually still pretty pliable over here, so let me go ahead and I'm just gonna line out this part right here. Now this makes a huge difference in how this piece looks, just lining out all this detail work on the foot and the side. I won't do the other side here since you guys probably can't see that. Again, I'm just going over the top so I can wipe back where I don't want that wax. Well, put some under the up here where you would normally see it dark under that lip from the top. And I'm gonna let that part set up. Then we're gonna go down here and I'm just gonna start wiping this back. So it's not wiping off as easy because it is starting to set up a little bit. So most of this, it's not that it's wiping back, it's just softening out the line so it looks more like a soft shaded line as opposed to this hard difference. It just looks like you're putting a little bit of shading here. It's giving it a little bit of age as well. I've got a little bit up here that's come across. I'm just kind of shading out that corner, making it a little bit darker. Then we're just gonna wipe back in the center here. I'm just kind of changing the spot on my rag as well. Because if you leave it in the same spot, you'll get that excess wax buildup and you're really just rubbing that dark around then, which is nice. If you wanted to add a little bit more shading up here and you wanted it to be nice, soft, and subtle, you can do that. But the more you want to take off, you just want to keep moving to a cleaner spot here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this over. We'll get this other door. Just making sure that I'm not getting any overlap as I'm wiping back. Just want to make that nice and soft. I don't want such a bold transition. I want it to look normal and natural, like it's just had some dirt buildup in there. Now, if I really wanted to go all out and kind of grunge this up a little bit more, Dixie dirt would have been great to put in here. As I'm adding the wax, I could have put the Dixie dirt in, and that would have made it a little more grungy, but that's not quite the look I was going for. I just wanted to give it a little bit more dimension, give it a little bit of age too, so it doesn't look like it's freshly painted. Tone it down a little bit, especially with these purples. So I think I've got all of this wiped off over here. Let me just get this one section that I did. So I don't want to wipe as much back off here. So I'm just kind of rubbing it around and not going too close to the top because I want to leave that a little bit darker. And for the most part, I'm leaving all the wax in the center of here. I'm only wiping over the top of that so that all that dark wax, I want that dark in this particular detailed line here because that's a deeper groove. So I want it to really stand out because I'm going to highlight that with the gold too. So I think, I mean, that pretty much gives you the idea. I'll just go over the whole piece with it. And the sides on this piece are already done as well. So this won't be long before I'll have final pictures posted on my page. But that just gives you an idea of how to do the dark wax if you want to add something a little to your piece to bring out your details. So now that we've got that done, so my next step would be to let that black wax dry and then to put 2 more coats of clear coat on it. And then my last step for everything is going to be the gilding wax. And the reason being is the gilding wax is oil-based. So you don't want to use, you want to put it on last. You don't really want to put any water-based products over it for the most part. It doesn't require a protectant. I suppose you could. I've seen people ask, or I've had people ask about using a protectant over the gilding wax. Technically, you can use a water-based protectant, but it would have to really cure and dry well. So like when you use an oil-based stain, it's like 3 to 5 days for it to fully dry. The same would really hold true for the gilding wax. I've never actually done it because there's not really a need to. But I did just want to put that out there just because I've had that question asked. So let me go ahead and bring this piece over. So this piece, it's had the black wax put on it. Let me get it so you can see it nicely. And ignore the top on this piece. Oh, that's another long story, which I'm going to end up probably doing a faux finish on it. It was pretty bad shape. I ended up stripping it. But it's just, I've conditioned it and done several things. Plus with the weather, it's just taking forever to dry. All right, so like I said, this piece here, it does have the couple of coats of satin over the black wax here. So we're going to come in with the gilding wax. And this is what the gilding wax looks like. It comes in several different colors. There's bronze, copper, silver, gold, pewter, and black. So this will be my first time actually using the gold. The mousse came out right before this, which is water-based, and I love this stuff. I've just been caught up in using it. I've used a lot of the black gilding wax, which I love. So this gives you a very soft transitional look. You can use that black gilding wax and just pinpoint it into those creases. It will give you a very hard, dark look. So that's really nice. With the gilding wax, like I said, it is oil-based. It does take about 4 hours to dry, about 12 hours before you want to buff it out. And with this, I'm also going to, you can apply it with your finger, oil-based, so it's not going to clean off with soap and water. You can clean it off with mineral spirits, or I've heard that an alcohol pad will take it off as well. I've just not used that yet. And what I'm actually missing is my screwdriver to get the lid off here, because it comes in a cute little 1 ounce, I think it's 1 ounce can, 1.3 ounces. So since I don't have my screwdriver, I'm just using my scissors. So this is what it looks like here. I've not even used any out of the can. I have used a little bit already on this project, but I've just been using what's on the lid. It goes a long ways. So like I said, I don't want to apply it with my finger, but you can. And you see where I've put a little bit on over here, and I went ahead and buffed it off. I wanted to see kind of how it looked, and I am going to use my finger. I'm going to put a little bit more on over here because I want it a little bit thicker than I put it on before. So I'm just going to kind of rub that across. So the difference, I think, outside of the fact that one is water-based and one is oil-based, one of the biggest differences, I think what this is, I find that the mousse, and this is just me and my personal experience with it, but I do find that the mousse goes on more like a paint. It's very opaque, and it applies wonderfully. This, to me, it goes on like a wax, a gilding wax. This is gold right here. Yeah, Lamar says he's used the zinc wax and he loved it. I haven't used the zinc yet, but I've got some hardware I'm working on that actually, that would look perfect on. So yeah, actually, you just gave me an idea. Thank you. Well, I said I was going to apply it with the brush, and actually I will here in a minute, but I really am liking how it's going on with my finger. And normally I do apply a gilding wax with my finger, but kind of wanted to have a little bit. I don't always have as much control with my finger. So I'm just going to run it all the way around this line. All right, and let's put some up here. So when I'm putting it on this trim, it's only going over the very top. So all of that wax that I worked into the details, that is showing up. That is still showing through because this is only going on the raised points, and it's just really making this pop. And that's the thing with the detail work. It just takes your painted piece to the next level. And oh my gosh, have you guys seen the new transfers in decoupage paper that Dixie Belle's coming out with at the end of March? I cannot wait. I love the transfers. All right, so got that on there pretty well. I'm just going to keep outlining this. And, you know, just so you guys can see, I am going to put some on with a brush. And this is the bad part. See, once you've got it all over you, normally with like the water-based, because you can put the mousse on with your finger too. You can just, you know, wash it off with some water. Actually, this is coming off pretty well for oil-based. And just wiping it with a dry paper towel. Because usually my problem with the old wax is I would start touching everything else and then I would get it in other places on my piece that I didn't want it. So let's go ahead and just do some with a brush. And again, natural bristle brush because this is wax. And to me, that's just better. I have more control with the bristles. Oh, thank you, Grapevine Decor Antiques and More. Thank you on the color. And hey, if you guys see somebody that is in your area, you're a retailer, post where you're at so they can find you, or at least so they can go to your Facebook page and like and follow. I'll definitely go back and do that when I go through the comments at the end. So all I'm doing with the brush It's a natural bristle brush, and I'm kind of doing a dry brush technique where I'm really just barely flitting over this raised portion right here. And usually whenever I use a brush, you'll notice that my hand, I always rest my hand on something, because if you just have your hand in the air and you're trying to paint that straight line, it makes it very difficult. You can get a little shaky, but this steadies your hand, and then you just set your brush down on that line and just drag it across. So that way you get as straight as you can, and you get that coverage. I've got a glare from that angle with the lights over here, so I can't quite tell where I've got my gold going. All right, so then I want to kind of highlight some of these edges a little bit. So I'm just going to come up here with the brush, and I'm going to lightly just streak it across kind of those edges. It's kind of hard from this angle to be able to see and make sure you guys can still see on the camera. I'm going to go back to using my finger just so I can get that without having to lean over quite so much and block the camera. But I'm just trying to get some of these edges around here. And I'm not getting that very well. Let me try to go back to the brush. And I'm just lining all of this out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to get it on here. And then the method that I used with pulling back the black. So when you go to buff this out, you're really going to use the same method. You can use a t-shirt. This is just a lint-free shop rag. So after that 12-hour point, I went over this more so I can't actually show you. But after that point, you just rub this. You can rub this and buff it, and it'll come to a very nice shine. It'll have a very nice sheen to it. It can get a little bit dull before you buff it. So definitely you don't want to miss that step. But that's it. That's how you put the gilding wax on. It does take a little while, but it is well worth it once it's done. But that's it. And then, like I said, I will be posting pictures of these pieces. They'll be done within the next few days. This oil has taken a long time to dry. This is still only the first coat. But you can see this had a lot of damage. I tried some stippling effects up here, but it looks like I'm still going to have an issue. So I'm actually probably just going to go back and do a faux finish on that with a black stain over chalk paint. And that'll cover that up. Yeah, it is. Ebony said that the gemstone mousse is more pigmented than the gilding wax. That is very true. And it goes on different. It goes on very opaque. It goes on just like paint. I do actually water mine down. Depending on the color, depends on the pigments with the mousse. So this is, I've almost used the whole thing at this point. But this is how thick it is. I do actually add water to it when I typically put it on. I've done a few videos with it, a few lives with it. But it goes on smoother. It goes on more like paint. You can also get that very straight, fine line that I personally generally cannot get with the gilding wax because of the way that it applies. But you can make a very, very straight line with this. You can use a card too, which you can do with the gilding wax as well. Like if I wanted to do this whole section, I could have used, well, I actually don't have anything, but you can use like a little business card or something. You just set it in there and then you can paint it on along that line to get that nice straight line. Ebony, so I actually painted these last week. It's Aubergine, Driftwood, and Fluff. It's a blend of all of those. And like I said, I did that last week on the Dixie Belle Paint Company page. And then it's also on my Facebook page if you wanted to go back and watch, as well as I've done a couple other videos on this. But But I don't think I see any more questions. I did have some issues with the comments, but I'm going to go back and I'll respond to anything that I missed. Thank you guys so much for hanging out tonight. I hope everyone permanently has power back, and water and any other mess with the pipes or anything else. I pray that that's cleared up for you guys quickly. But thank you again so much. Don't forget to like and follow me on Facebook, please. And you guys have a great night. Take care.